finding a way to weave, entertaining value like these memes throughout the film and painting a narrative of who these people are, humanizing them. The moniker retail investor, it's dehumanizing to these people. They're everyday people, and which is why I really hate the term retail. But finding a way to do all of that and at the same time peel back the curtain enough for whoever watches it to say, "Whoa, let's talk to our congressman about this. This is crazy."
Hi everyone. Before we get started, I have to plug a few quick things. First of all, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available to order. You can read some chapter previews by following the link in the description below. Our sponsors, ExpressVPN, get 35% off 12 months of ExpressVPN and get 25% off podcast hosting with Podium. Finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, please go check out odyssey.com instead. We are hosting all our videos there. If you're a creator, you can move your videos across with one simple click, and you can earn cryptocurrency simply by watching videos and use it to tip your favorite creators like myself. So please check that all out if you want to support the show. Anyway, here's the podcast. And yeah, we're in. Welcome to another episode of Chatter. Today I'm here with Finley and Quinn Mulligan, or the Mulligan brothers. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, not a problem. So you guys are making a documentary by Apes for Apes, the Apes Strong, or Apes Together Strong documentary. Why don't you tell us what that is all about to start us off?
All right. My brother and I have been we've not been retail investors for a very long time. We started in January when we saw what was happening with GameStop, and subsequently got into AMC as well, but basically been holding since then. When we had our big run-up, January 28th, and then the subsequent halting of buying on Robinhood and other brokers, we had kind of an aha moment and were very pissed off. Like, I think a lot of people, but it was definitely like a moment of, wait a minute, something is happening here, and we need to start trying to document this and get these people's stories, because like these are like normal people just trying to get out of the grind. What happened when they pulled the rug out was hurting, normal everyday folks just trying to like get a ticket onto a rocket. It was really messed up, and we felt like we had to start digging in and tell the story.
Quinn, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, for me, it's watching this whole thing unfold and seeing all the submissions we've gotten. A lot of it is just regular, everyday folks who have pretty basic wants out of this. Some people were just like, I wish I didn't have to be scared of where my rent check was coming from, or I really wish that I could make sure my mom didn't have to work until she's 85, just to be able to finally retire and enjoy her last year. It's... For me, this story is a human one. Everything surrounding the details about the stock market and how it all functions, global financial markets, that's all important. And it's a big aspect of this, of course. But for me, the human story is incredibly, widespread. It's diverse. It's all over the world, clearly. You're in Northern Ireland. We're here in America. We've talked to people in Austria, Germany. There's the Korean guy. There's a whole bunch of people around the world that all want their story told and are in this for similar reasons. So for me, a big part of the drive to make this film is to have each of their voices heard and make sure that the people that are trying to screw us all over, I want them to know that they're up against just about everyone.
Yeah, that's a pretty inspiring way to put it. It's a really mad story that just, I mean, I'm stunned at the community and the way it has come together. Is like a big theme of I think of your guys' work and of the book I'm trying to put together on this is that it's an incredibly diverse group of people, but no one cares about who you are behind like the mask of the ape. Like it's irrelevant. Like it really doesn't matter. Like who you are, you are one of the apes, and that's it. And I've seen like media organizations trying to put it like say it's like, oh, it's not a fun place to be if you're not a straight white male. I think that headline was from the Lily. And then underneath, the most beautiful thing ever happened. It was a whole string of comments being like, I'm Samoan, I've never felt any racism here, I've only felt welcomed. Like, I'm a black woman, I've only ever felt welcomed here. And like going through all these people from different parts of the world, different races, genders, ethnicities, everything, being like, this is the most welcoming community I've ever been part of.
Yeah.
It's weird,
Yeah, we've
right?
seen
Like,
a lot of
even,
that too.
Like in the States with our, political device. Sorry, I've also seen like a bunch of shit. There's like lights and a camera bag and a bike, whatever. We had to shoot this weekend. It's kind of messy, so sorry about that. But yeah, like even in America where the divide is what it is, like anytime someone brings up left or right, it gets shut down pretty much immediately. It's just like, nope, we're not about that here. Get it out. And like, our personal opinions, like we've seen people on the internet interacted with people that like we probably never would have interacted with otherwise based on their political beliefs. And like that is one thing that's kind of cool is it's such an important tool of the wealthy classes to keep us divided, so they can hold on to their wealth, because when we're together we're awfully strong. So I think it's that is one of the more incredible things to come out of all of this, is that these kind of lower classes, for lack of a better descriptor, aren't letting themselves become divided. The most we see is like between AMC and GME, and like it's just stupid. Like we're all, you can have your own opinions about the stocks, of course that's one thing, but A, do what you want with your money, and B, it's not about that. It should be about the normal people having a level playing field. That's how we're looking at it anyway.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be, it's frustrating because this story for me is definitely not left versus right. It's up versus down, and it's easy for the people at the top to pit people against each other who are beneath them, and that's kind of been the play since, the first cities in Mesopotamia, So we want to make sure that at least our message is more of a vertical one than horizontal, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's definitely like a theme I've come across quite a lot in my I've been bookmarking posts basically since January. I've got like well over 300 just with like really funny memes, like beautiful sentiments, like ridiculous like accusations of
Send
manipulation.
us whatever you have.
Yeah, I will. I'll send you the big list. Like you can go through them. But
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, my Reddit profile is just like, so many saved posts, like everything. Like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And like once we finish our fundraising and actually start production and research, like pulling all that back out is gonna be an absolute nightmare. Like we've been, of course, like structuring and stuff now, but like I've got a full-time job until this thing like really pops off. Like that will also be a full-time job. It already is, but like that process of digging through all the collected research is gonna be monumental.
Yeah. What is your sense of like what the level of knowledge was amongst the apes, as like for lack of a better word to describe the Redditors and whatnot? Like, what is your sense of what the level of knowledge was for these people before January? Because like at least for me, I can say I've been on a pretty steep learning curve.
Yeah, jack shit, I think is the response. Like there's some people that like have been investing for a long time. And there's some people that are, really like there are, of course, there's some big brains out there because like these people like started all this DD and whatever else. So yeah, retail investors I think has always been or underestimated in what they can bring to the table and like what kind of an intellectual force they can be. And once this happened, I think what you have is a huge influx of new people to it. So of course they're not going to know anything. Like we didn't know shit. Like I had read a couple books and been like, oh, I'll invest one day when I'm not broke. But like never did it until this thing happened. I was like, okay, screw it. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid and go for it. And then you learn. But since then, all of what's come out and how invested people are in finding out why they got fucked over in when they pulled the rug out. I think that the knowledge of some very specific financial inner workings of the markets wouldn't have happened. And I think a lot of these investors never would have been as knowledgeable as they are now if this thing hadn't have started. So I do think it's creating a new wave, like a generation of people that are like, no, actually, you know what? We're sick of sitting on the sidelines and watching these ultra wealthy people make trillions while we're literally dying, jobless, and have no future. We're not doing that anymore. We're not going back. It's not, the cat's out of the bag. Like, this is a paradigm shift, which is why we so badly want to be a voice for these, but now, you know, to tell this story truthfully, because the media is doing a shite job of it.
Quinn, did you want to add something there to that?
As to the level of education for retail investors, I think Wall Street Bets probably had a lot of people that knew what they were talking about before this popped off.
Yeah,
you know, there's definitely a lot of, it's risky. It's a gambling den. Fucking Mouse Eisley. It's
most wretched.
So I think a lot of people there knew what they were talking about. Yeah, exactly. And I think some of the people that jumped on board initially probably were investing a bit here and there, knew what they were doing. But that's not to say that everyone there didn't have a lot to learn about some of these more complicated issues that have been talked about lately on Superstonk and that places like that, like failure to delivers, how it actually works when you buy stock. Like, do you actually own that stock? A lot of these really nuanced details, people who have been trading for years, you know, maybe through a broker or through a financial advisor or something, might be like, excuse me, what? So it's one of those situations where there's always a lot to learn. But I think a lot of people that initially got in probably knew at least a bit about trading in the stock market, or they wouldn't have been on Wall Street Bets.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people, like, their relationship with investing their own money is you give it to someone who knows what they're talking about. And that is what I hope changes, you know, taking responsibility for your own, you know, wealth creation. And, like, it's, for so long, I'm sure there's generations of people that are like, oh, I know about investing. I have my 401k and I've got my Roth, and I go to my financial advisor and we discuss, and I make some but like, the learning curve has shot up dramatically, and people are like, no, I need to learn, like, a technical analysis. I'm going to download Webull. I'm going to figure out what all this is. Like, how does volume affect stock price, and what does short selling do to blah blah blah, like all this other stuff that, like, they never would have dealt with at all. And now, like, yeah, whatever. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. Here's what I love about that too. It's a chance so with this situation with GME, that's a lot of people saying, I like the stock. I like this company. AMC, like, I love movie theaters. I'm going to buy stock in that movie theater. Why would I want movie theaters to die? So it's a moment where people are voting with their dollar. And I think if enough people get used to trading stocks in that manner, you know, it's not always just like I'm going to make so much money in 4 hours with this one quick trade. It's more like, I love this. I love what this company's doing. It's kind of the antithesis of short sellers that are trying to take down companies doing cancer research. You know, it's Luke to the Vader.
Yeah.
It's a chance for people to vote with their dollar and make sure that they can try and support companies they love. Sometimes maybe in a risky fashion where the fundamentals might not be there in the moment, but they're hoping they could get there. If enough regular folks decide that they want to invest in companies that are doing good in the world or provide an actual service rather than, you know, big multinational military production companies, I think that's an amazing thing. And I hope,
you know, the critique that retail is like, they're not investing in value or all this other shit. Like, they're just trying to game the system. Like,
I can't believe it. They're just trying to make money in the stock market. Like,
yeah, what a weird idea. Crazy idea. But also, it's like, what have they been telling you for years and years and years? It's like, you buy a stock and come believe in, and you hold it. That's what we're doing. But to say that, you know, we're separated from fundamentals is such a hypocritical thing to say. Like, what are their algorithms in high frequency trading doing? Like, they're trading off of technical markers. You know, this isn't necessarily them, like, looking over, you know, a company and deciding that they're worth it or not. If that was true, if you took GameStop's name off of their company and looked at what they've been doing in the last year, you know, this is a company on its way up. So it's absolute hogwash, this shit that they're feeding everybody, to say that, you know, like, we're separated from fundamentals. That's not true. This company has turned itself around, and here we are investing in it because we like it. But that's also like the weird, like, what is the ape investor, right? Are there bulls, bears, and apes? And apes, there's like, you know what? I love Funyuns. I'm investing in Funyuns, and I'm going to hold that stock forever because that's just delicious. Funyuns aren't my thing, but like, maybe that's a different kind of investor, and there's nothing wrong with that.
They've created a whole new, you've created a whole new class of investor in this way. That's a really interesting point, actually. Like, one of the other things I wanted to get your guys' take on, because like, it seems like you're coming at this from a similar angle to me, and like from a similar state of mind, at least anyway, is that something that I'm trying to get my head around at the moment and think about is how crucial memes were in the movement, essentially. Like how actually how important, because I laughed with Ollie Dugmore. He's the editor of like a news site in the UK that are kind of like tongue in cheek. So they use a lot of memes, but they also have serious interviews. And we were laughing about how every bad like politics graduate's thesis is basically on this topic, and it's like it's both, I think, overdone and undercovered. So before I give you like my thoughts, like, what are your guys' just thoughts or opinions on how memes have shaped and you know, mapped this movement?
I mean, it's kind of like what we're doing, right? We're making a film. So what does a film need to do, right? It's supposed to entertain, but to like educate people with what we want to do and try to make change, like, we have to make it entertaining. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, these memes, they kind of democratize this information. Like, it's an accessible, bite-sized way to get like a quick picture of something, you know. And of course, memes are propaganda in many ways. You know, it's like a lot of it's like, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, blah, blah. Like, it's propaganda, so it builds hype, you know, which is part of this whole thing. But I've also seen plenty of memes that have like this really quick cutting jolt of information, and like good information too. So you're like, oh wow, you actually start seeing that these things have actually helped all of these people with no understanding of what short selling is, and have kind of by osmosis, like, kind of taught people what some of these issues are. So I think it has like a weird bite-sized educational quality to it, and it's wrapped up in propaganda, which is hilarious and interesting.
I just wanted to show you this. Can you see this? That's the meme that springs to mind.
Like, you look at that,
telling
like,
you so much with so little.
You know, how many shares are loaned. You know, how does, well, we're kind of technical here, but like rehypothecation. What problems are going on right now that we haven't addressed as a community, because Wall Street's kind of been over here going like, we're good, don't worry about it. You know, I know there's a pandemic, I know you don't have jobs, but literally it's the best market that's ever existed. It's like, yeah, but dog, I'm like driving Uber and washing toilets and building toothbrushes. I don't have time to see my family. What do you mean? I don't see that. So now people are looking and they're paying attention. In a more specific way, right? Like, you can have a bunch of people saying, sorry, one more thing, that like, look, Wall Street's corrupt. It's like, okay, sure, Wall Street's corrupt. But if they say, no, we have problems with failure to deliver, and it's market-wide, and it's been going on for years, that's a very specific thing to look at. And I think that it's a lot more powerful to have a lot of people behind like a specific set of issues, rather than just a blanket statement that sounds like, you know, people just kind of screaming in the wind. So I think that that's another facet to this that makes us a much, you know, sharper tool in trying to make change in this kind of interesting moment that we're in.
Yeah, and I think the memes have incredible power to carry, I guess, kind of the just really simple ideas, kind of distill them down into one funny thing that catches on easily and gets imitated and repeated. I mean, like, I think when Richard Dawkins came up with the idea of the meme, it was like an idea or like something that someone, I guess I'm going to explain this poorly, but does, that has cultural information in it, and it gets imitated and passed on from person to person within a group or population. And I think that, of course, these internet memes have kind of strayed quite a bit from that main idea, but it's pretty similar in that it carries not just good actual information about the stock market like what you just showed, but it kind of also displays the culture of this group of people. They're ridiculous, they're silly, they're just looking for a laugh in addition to all these really serious things. So in the same little thing, that meme is saying like, the U.S. stock market is pretty corrupt, broken, incestuous, and confusing. And on the other hand, it's like, man, this is kind of dumb, isn't it? Ha! Spider-Man's.
Spider-Man's.
Yeah.
All at the same time, which is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part that I really...
Or is it Spider-Men's?
Spider-Men's? Spider-Many?
Spider-Man's. Spider-Many.
Spider-Man is so stupid. Love that.
That's amazing. But like the sense that I get from the memes, at least anyway, is that like, okay, it's they build hype, as you said. They really get people on that internet bandwagon, because like, I don't know, the memes seem to, like, the more you pile them onto a bandwagon, the faster down that hill it starts to tumble.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like they also provide this like weird defense mechanism by which, in the same way we said that like everyone is like playing the ape, that they are, that they're playing the ape when they're online, and it doesn't matter what's underneath it. It's that like our actions are the meme, because like our financial, or for a lot of people, mine especially, knowledge is like based in the last 4 months, and that has been steeped in diamond hand by the dip. So therefore, it's not just like a meme, it's the thing that's been embedded in like the very basis of what I've learned about investing. And therefore, I feel like I'd just be betraying the entire culture to paper hand it at this point. Like, it's like the memes have this weird ability to like create action because we like use it and repeat them so much.
Well, also what I love is that like it's foolproof to critique, because like investment is like you like a company, you like its fundamentals, and you load up on those shares when it's cheap, and you don't sell when it's high. Like, that's basic investing, and it's what they've been teaching for years. So like, they don't have a leg to stand on. So all they can do is say they're a bunch of racist white guys, and like I mean, no, like they exist and those guys suck, but like they get smacked down pretty quick, So yeah, this, and even if it's like this bandwagon, if there are other critique is like, oh, they're manipulating the market by working together. It's like, what is MSNBC doing? Who owns MSNBC? Who owns Market Watch? Give me a break. Like, it makes me so mad. But, that's also part of why we're doing this film. But like, they're complete hypocrites, and it's and I'm using kind of strong language here, but it's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, people can get caught up in not using blunt language when it is sometimes just the real truth. So why don't we, since you mentioned the film, like go back and talk a little bit about the film and about your guys.
Sure.
So, like,
About what?
Yeah, the what?
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, that thing. Someone's been carrying a camera around following you guys. Did you not notice?
I wish. No, anymore.
Yeah, we've all been watching. No.
What?
What's your background then in film and in,
I got the giggles.
Yeah, what's your background in film and whatnot? So to give people an idea.
Yeah, we've been making movies since we were kids. I mean, like, anytime there's a school report, it's like, let's make a movie. It's way easier, way more fun. And the teacher's usually like, here's your A. So we've been doing that for a very long time. That's how we got our start. I went to school and quickly found that film school was total horseshit, and we bounced out of there, drop out. Then I moved on to work around town.
Not all film school's horseshit.
Yeah. Not all of it, but for us it was, right? So
sure.
Anyway, well, who cares? I said it. Then I ended up getting a job at a company called LAIKA. So we actually we make stop motion films. Won the BAFTA for Kubo and the Two Strings. Not me. I worked on that film, so I didn't direct that. Travis Knight, our main dude, did. So it's a crazy job where I'm their first assistant director. So I run the shooting floor, which is probably the largest and most complicated in the world. And that's my job, is to keep it all on the rails. So that's like the production management side of things. And then outside of that, we do a ton of creative work, music videos. I do a lot of writing. And my brosif has been a musician mostly. He's below me. I don't know if he's below you.
Yeah. I'm over here for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mostly musician. We've been making movies our entire lives. And through the pandemic, we've also been doing some commercial work for local businesses and some nonprofits to try and drum up support for, things like Cocktails to Go, or just the restaurants and local businesses in general having a hard time during the pandemic. Our city, Portland, is small businesses kind of make it as awesome as it is. So we've been trying to do a lot of work for those businesses around town.
That's very noble. So where did you come to the GameStop saga? Like what made you sort of tune in, notice, pick it up? Where was the first time you heard it? And then how did that become, let's make a documentary about this?
I had been on Wall Street Bets for a while. And sorry, bro. And I ended up finding out about it. I'm only started because I started it. I don't know. So I was on Wall Street Bets for a while. Thought it was hilarious. All this gambling and lost porn, all this other shit. And in January, I ended up finding out about GameStop and was like, oh man, look, I've been curious about investing for a while, and I've got like a few $100. Like, screw it, let's just jump in. And then I called my brother, like, dude, you gotta try this. And he's like, oh, I don't have to get my Robinhood account. And then we both kind of scrambled, got in pretty early, but not as early as we wanted to, because I noticed it like $30, and I was like, ooh. But it took a little bit to get like a broker set up, so it was higher by then. But anyway, early January, here we are, invested. Brother?
Oh yeah, I'm unemployed musician at the time. I've got a wife that wants a family, and I'm just not providing that. So yeah, for me, it's like I've been a poor musician my entire life, and this was a chance for me to be like, okay, maybe I could actually make a nice enough chunk to realize some of those dreams and not have to go back to certain jobs that don't necessarily fulfill what I want out of life. So yeah, for me it was a chance to better my situation, just like it is for, I bet you anything, half the people I got into this have a very similar story to mine. So we're very much of this community for a lot of the same reasons, and I think that's a big reason why we think that we could be the right people to tell this story. We are the right people to tell the story, in our opinion.
Yeah. So. And the big kicker was when Robinhood halted buying. That was like our catalyst to be like, nope, something's up. This is crazy. And like, because in that moment you see the community, like it drops down to $38 for GameStop, and obviously lower for AMC, and all these people that are holding these stocks, and BlackBerry, Nokia, all these people, they're normal humans, and instead of like selling, like the media is like screaming at them like, sell, you idiots. And there's like, nah, we're idiots. Like, what are you thinking? Like, so like they're not idiots, obviously, but that's like the funny meme part. But they hold on to it, and instead of being scared, they go, it's like something wrong happened here. Let's start figuring it out. And then the DD just explodes, and the apes galvanize, and that is the moment that we were like, okay, let's do this. Let's just make a film. Like, these are the tools that we have. We're filmmakers and storytellers. So I posted on Reddit basically saying, hey, everybody, how many of you are pissed off and wants to see a real documentary telling the truth about what's happening with the apes and the short squeeze of a lifetime? And the response was crazy positive. I've never had a Reddit post explode, and it was really fun. I was like responding to everybody. That was on St. Patty's Day. It's a great day. And we, because you're Irish, sorry.
Oh.
So we started the work after that, and the next post was, okay, so we're doing this thing. Here's who we are. Tell us what you want to see in the film. And since then, we've been working very hard to make sure that the way we're approaching the film is coming from the community. Like, what are the topics you want to see? Who do you want us to talk to? And then as we make it, we're going to be including them throughout the process. So, we're trying to double down on the fact that this is a film for the apes, by the apes. But I kind of went long there, but that's basically it.
So good, Quinn. Anything that what made you so interested in deciding to be a part of making a film about this? Like, who first came up with the idea? Who came to who?
My brother called me as I was panicking to try and figure out how the hell I can buy more as it was dipping. Robinhood was taking everything.
I gotta buy more. Yeah.
So my brother called me. He's like, "We should make a documentary about this. This is bullshit." So yeah, we started. I kind of stopped for a second. I'm like, okay, calm down. I'm gonna ignore my phone. Yeah, there's something weird here, right? We should probably start looking at this. So we started digging, and that was my brother's idea, but we started digging pretty early and just looking at all the different communities, seeing what they're saying, trying to find out if there was anyone that had an explanation. And that kind of got us going down the rabbit hole.
I don't know. Did you guys have I went through. Now I'm a little less crazy about it, but I went through periods in February where I was just consuming DD for hours of a night, just being
hours.
What is going on here? Like scrolling through Reddit, being someone has to understand, and then you find that magical golden DD that really lay it out in a way that you understood, and you're like, oh, I really get this, and it's not got too many of the complicated graphs. And then underneath the comments, I would just be reading them and pissing myself laughing for it didn't matter the topic of the post, whether it was a really serious explanation of financial fuckery, or whether it was just a shit post of Kenny, or whether it was there were some really touching posts about people's parents passing away, and that this community was helping them get through it. And then underneath there would just be both beautiful comments and being someone go fuck this man's wife.
It's so funny.
Yeah. For me it's this human story. Shut up, Finley.
I did.
The human story, the humanity, I think is. I mean, I couldn't think of anything else that could get so many people around the world to sit down for a few hours a night and go, oh, I'm going to read about this financial concept. No, it's normally very dry stuff, but if you throw in these stories about, people's tragedies, people's successes, and then a bunch of really dumb humor on top of all of it, it's like it's like a Farrelly Brothers movie mixed with Harmony Korine movie mixed with the Terrence Malick movie. There's so much there. It's so mashed up in such a weird, awesome way that
a lot of Harmony Korine.
Global pandemic could spawn. Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, it's really, really beautiful in a way in a time when because I kind of thought when before January, at least anyway, I was a bit, I don't know, depressed about the state of the world. I'd had this thought that maybe the pandemic was gonna lead to a lot of good things, the lockdowns would make everyone take stock of their lives, and we'd all come back refreshed and ready to change the system, and then it sort of just devolved into fighting and everyone hating each other over it as usual. And then January rolled around, and I remember saying to people, being this is the most exciting and positive thing I've literally seen in a whole year.
Or on the internet. The internet's a dark and terrible place. It's this is weird. Yeah. Totally. I think a lot of people felt that way, the pandemic's been a really hard time for a lot of people. And to find this way that you can be at home and do something that seems really positive and could have positive impact, on the planet at large. I think that what's the most positive thing that's going to come out of this is that there's a generation of people that's going to teach this shit to their kids. Financial literacy is now a hot topic, and I wish we learned this stuff when we were young. Here's how debt works. Maybe don't go to that school. You don't need 70 grand in debt if you're an artist. That kind of thing. Welcome to America. So it's this empowerment to teach each other and your children, and a healthy distrust for what the media is feeding you, and to find a way to like educate yourself enough to know what's bullshit. So I hope that is the main thing that comes out of this, that people feel empowered to not only teach themselves but their children, and to hold these larger entities accountable.
So, Quinn, do you want to add anything?
No.
Okay. So, what can you tell us about the actual production of the documentary? Like, how are you going about, or what are you willing to say about how you're going about telling this story? Like, where are you planning to start, or what sort of, I don't know, format are you planning to use?
So some of that is in flux, of course. Like once we start production, the pre-production anyway, in earnest, we'll solidify a lot of that stuff. But we will say that like we have the culture of the community has to come through. So not only are we being guided by what these people want us to cover, and like we're from the community from the start. Like we've heard people or been interviewed by people even that you can tell they haven't been in it. And they're like, if you don't know what Superstonk is, like, you're missing a lot, And like that's just
like where you at, bro? You're still in Wall Street bets? No.
Yeah, exactly. And like that is like okay. So I think our approach of coming inside the community, whether it's GME or AMC, out gives us an upper hand because we can tell the story more fully and more truthfully. So I guess the actual production of the film is going to rely heavily on the community for not only the voice of what's going on, but also the content. We're totally open to like keeping things loose and entertaining, while at the same time really digging into what's going on. I mean, so far we've got people like A. Tobit, we have David Lauer, we have Dennis Kelly here of Better Markets. Like these are heavy hitters, and there's more that we're close with. So it's finding a way to weave, entertaining value like these memes throughout the film and painting a narrative of who these people are, humanizing them. The moniker retail investor, it's dehumanizing to these people. They're everyday people, and which is why I really hate the term retail, but finding a way to do all of that and at the same time peel back the curtain enough for whoever watches it to say, whoa, let's talk to our congressman about this. This is crazy. So that, without telling exactly like how we're going to visually do all that, those are, I guess, our main tenets. Brother, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I might also add that as far as retail investors goes, the term for kind of the regular institutions in our financial markets, it kind of makes sense because we're, for them, for sale. They make money off of everything we do in the stock market. There are so many ways that they take our stocks and our value and make money off of them. So for us, we're to be bought and sold. So I guess we are retail for the time being, but hopefully we can change
that. It's a really
that.
good, that's a disgusting point.
That's really heavy, man. Like that's
yeah.
Anyway, have a nice day.
But but theoretically,
you're not wrong, right?
I'm not even. Yeah, like with Robinhood. For anyone that's listening that doesn't know, I am sure if you search in r/GME or r/Superstonk, you search like PFOF or payment for order flows in there. You will find some information on how Robinhood actually makes their money, and it's by selling payment for order flows, which are like your bids and sales of all the different stocks. And I would do a horrible job of explaining things like this, so go and find someone better. But it's in there.
Well, it's basically like
imagine though.
Yeah, it's like Facebook. You're the commodity. Facebook makes money off of advertising off of you and selling your information. Robinhood does kind of a similar back end thing with your stocks.
And here's another good one. So when you're on margin with Robinhood, they can take your share, they can loan it out, they can make money on it, not tell you about it. Because of that, you'll lose your vote in a proxy vote, and you'll have no idea that your share's out there making money for them without proper disclosures to tell you that. And to get off of margin, you have to pay for their gold account. I think it's called gold or whatever. So you got to pay for something to get off of margin to not do that. So right away, you're put on a system where they can go bloop, 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 and just loan your shares out. So like your Spider-Man meme, like it all ties in, man. It's spiderweb. Like we're trying to be careful about getting really technical with shit because we're bringing people on the film that will do that for us. 'Cause we're just filmmakers, man. Like this, we're new to this. But stuff like that is like
it really. Yeah, it really feels like someone's just like it's like someone walks up to you, or doesn't even walk up to you. You just kind of notice your car's gone one day, and you're like, "What the fuck?
I had a car."
And then a few days later, your friend comes over with your car, and he's like, "Oh," and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing with my car?" He's like, "Oh, I was just renting it out to some other people. Like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna leave with my money that I made off your car."
But I wanted to go vote.
Yeah.
That
In
car.
what world
Yeah.
is that okay? In what world is that okay? In what area of any of our social structures or financial structures should that be okay? It's ridiculous. You own that share. If someone uses it to make money, it should be your money, or at least you should know about it. It's crazy.
It's
Yeah, and
probably
in that
their
analogy,
campaign.
in that analogy, the synthetic shares are just as mad because it's someone calling you up and going, "Would you maybe sell me your car, or could I borrow your car at some point?" And then them going, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And you going, "All right," and then you phone like someone go, "I'll sell you this car." Like that's
Yeah.
that's essentially what it
wild.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
like,
like,
yeah,
right,
like I
okay,
said, like getting too deep in the weeds is tough. Like we can talk about story all day, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's so complicated, and a lot of what is problematic is legal. You know, it's not just these illegal, nefarious things. It's like how it's structured. So, yeah, we guaranteed in the film we'll be getting deep into it.
Yeah. I guess that's one thing we could say about production. We're trying to have as many experts as possible to go into some of these finer points because, we are not stock experts. We just like the stock, and we like making movies. So we're going to get wrinklier brains than ours to make sure that these concepts are told properly and that we're not going down some rabbit hole that's just not a thing, not true. Sometimes you read these wild DDs and you're like, "That is insane," and then 3 comments down they're like, "That is just not correct." So we need to make sure
fine.
that's
Part of
not
it,
happening
right?
for our film.
It's
Yeah.
also exciting.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's great.
Because it may spur someone else, and like as long as people are level-headed and like keep an open mind to peer review, which I think Superstonk's been doing a really good job of, and some of the Twitter spaces can get that way too. Like, I'm really excited to see where we're at in a year from now. Like there will be some parties that like try to monetize all this. You're already starting to see that, but there will be these not-for-profit entities that are there purely to make sure there's a healthy place to find information. And that's so heartening.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my many thoughts for I've been reading a lot of those. What are we gonna do with our money posts? And there's some amazing suggestions. One that I think would be incredible that I haven't seen. No, I guarantee someone's suggested this, but I haven't seen anyone do it. Is that we should buy Reddit?
Just outright.
Yeah, just outright. It's like,
Yeah.
like try and ban our posts now. Like try and throttle the subreddit from getting on the
Yeah,
front
let's see your
page.
story in that yeah, totally. That'd be wild, man.
That's funny.
Full circle. You should post it on Superstonk.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like one of the things that's really struck me is that so for like writing the book, I kind of went back and I was like, I had to start with going, okay, so for someone that's never been on Reddit, like what is Reddit? And I had to like go and I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos with people trying to explain it, to try and like think about the best ways to explain what it is. And the way that the like upvote, downvote, comment thread, like discussion encouraging setup that it has, like r/Superstonk has actually become like the perfect version of what this was meant to be in a way, in that people who are talking bullshit get downvoted. People who are like obviously shilling get downvoted. Bots get like blocked. people get reported, but the community is incredible at taking on board information, figuring out things that have been going around were right or wrong, and like self-correcting themselves. It's incredible to watch.
It's totally, and like the system that they've created, I don't know, they've been going about it very smart from day one. You know, like when the exodus from GME, and like they're friendly now. Like those threads are you know, more or less on good terms. So it seems from the outsider's perspective, but you look at within a day, like 150,000 people went over to Superstonk. Like that's mad. You know, these are people that are highly dedicated to having a place for good information. You know, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, the speed of migration was stunning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, nope, we're doing this now. We trust this you know, this place.
Yeah,
So, they've done a really good job of staying true to that ethos of like how to be transparent and make things trustable.
yeah. What's your sense on how much the subreddits, all the way from the like OG Wall Street Bets through to Superstonk and even the Discords, like there's a lot of accusations obviously thrown around that they're bought and paid for, like the mods on some of the subreddits, that there's like even on the Discords there's like accusations sometimes thrown around of shills being in there or one of the mods being paid or there's thread splitting going on, or they're like people are dumping loads of specific things in order to bury something. Like, what is your sense of how real that is, and how much that's just a bunch of paranoid Redditors?
It's real. I can fully confidently say that that's real. There have been issues with bots, shills, you know, people being paid. Like this is absolutely happening. You know, these what we're up against is a mountain of wealth. They're gonna pay people to try to take down what we're doing. That's like logic just dictates that. It's like a dumb Cold War on the internet. Like, you know, this is a financial battlefield. This is absolutely happening.
Quinn, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Like, we've had people show us emails they've gotten of people asking to pay them to talk about other stocks or to degrade other stocks in the subreddits. You know, this is real stuff. It's happening.
Wow.
You know, and you see fishy Twitter accounts that are either super fresh and all they do is shit on these stocks or the community, or some like kind of more nefarious ones where they're older accounts that haven't posted for 10 years and all of a sudden they're just questioning everything, like, is that really what we should be doing, or blah blah, which are a little like, there's some wiggle.
I don't think it's really weird. And these are tactics you're seeing even with the like in-person protests that we had in the pandemic as well for like the movement. Like, you see the same tactics being used to try to infiltrate, gain trust, and then flip the script. So, you know, we're not going to name any names, and like we have some people that have given us information that we're not going to talk about, but like it is absolutely happening, and some are more coordinated than others. But when you look at it and you see it, it's just like, oh, gross. This is absolutely out there. So be careful of where your information comes from, and then anyone who you look at as like a community leader, if you've never heard of them before and they came out of nowhere, just really be careful and look at their history and where they come from and what their day job. Like, just look them up. Don't just trust them because everyone's on into it. There's been a few who've been like, what?
Who did they work for before?
Yeah.
You know, who's the last 10 people that paid them money?
Who pays them money?
Who pays them money? Who's paid them money in the past? Because they just might be paying them money now. So
Don't just trust some random guy on the internet with a cat as an avatar just because he says one stock is really good.
Or even us. Like, you know, we're just like, we can tell you who we are until we're blue in the face, but like, you know, look us up. You look at my Reddit, it's all like pizza pictures and like my pug. You know, like this ain't a rich guy. You know, it's like,
I'm like posting on the Ancestry one, or the bread or fermenting subreddits. Oh, that's some nice looking jalapenos you got there.
Yeah, so I don't know why you became a little old British lady. But anyway. You try
Hey, guys. Do you think there are any like serious whales in on this?
Yeah.
Like aside from say like BlackRock, which is the big one, the hedge fund wise, like do you think there's like some do you think there's some quiet celebrities or like more famous people out there with a lot of money on this?
Famous?
There's a lot of quiet rich people.
Yeah, a couple people have messaged us and like shown us their positions. We're like, oh my God, how much do you like movies? Like it's they're out there, and they'll do what they want to do, and like honestly, I don't really care. Like I know why I bought into these things, and until the reason that I've bought into them changes, I'll hold the stock just like any good investor would. Anytime like throughout this that I've invested in something else and been like, oh, and let emotion and fear dictate, whether it's fear of missing out or fear of losing money, it's a bad play. Like you pick your fundamentals, you go into it. This is not financial advice. I'm an idiot, but like, until that changes, whatever. So I don't really care who else is into this in the end. Like I'll do what I want with my money. If I want to go on a rooftop and throw it all off, the government better let me do that.
I couldn't agree more. So, like, what do you guys think is going to be the biggest takeaway from this? Like, what's the biggest sort of result of this going to be?
It's a tough question to answer. There are definitely things that I wish and hope for. Stronger financial literacy, more transparency in our financial markets, global financial markets in particular. So there's just so much room for shadiness in the way money moves between entities in different countries, and a lot of opportunities to hide illegal or nefarious activity. But my biggest hope is that people realize that they have a lot more in common than they think they do, and that people who have been disparaged and shat on for millennia by people at the top of any given society, all of them, doesn't matter what structure you have, it's always the people on the bottom that are getting stepped on so other people can stand on top and go like that. So I hope people realize that even with something as silly as a stock, one single stock or two individual stocks, you can band together. And there's a lot of power there. There's enough power to at least start making them bleed a little bit, to bring the pain and bring some actual change. Not that, you have to be in this for some big social change, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think I hope that there's some empathy in groups that are less fortunate, because like I said earlier, or touched on at least, like it is in the powerful community's best interest to keep those less fortunate people against each other. That's how they have these hyper vigilant groups that get them elected or make them rich. So I would say I hope empathy builds between less fortunate groups, and that they realize that they have a lot more in common than they think, and that the vitriol on the extreme ends is just that. I really believe that financial literacy will become way more of a priority than it has been for kids in education. We would love to try to find a way to support a nonprofit in that regard as well. I also think on the more like the market structure side of things, I do think that failure to delivers and naked short selling is going to have, more of a lens than it has been. And like there have been legislation in the last few years that have addressed this issue. This is not a new thing, but I think now with this new wave of public investors interested in it, we'll likely see the SEC making some sort of changes. But I digress. I hope the change we see is social, because that will only cause more change. We can have one governmental thing happen now, but if the people come together, become interested, and have another generation become interested, Like it's like you can teach a man to fish and he'll catch fish, you know, right? Like that kind of thing. We need to all learn about how this works, get it out in the open, because it may not be our generation, but the next one might be the one that actually fixes what's going on and levels the playing field, and hopefully helps ease the gigantic wealth divide between the lower and upper classes. So, generational class struggle, man.
Vertical, not horizontal.
Vertical, not horizontal. That is, yeah, that's a pretty nice way and a very, very nice moment on which to end. Everybody check out Apes Together Strong apes-together-strong-doc.com. I will put the link in the description below for anyone who can't spell or type, as I'm sure there are plenty of those people listening.
We have also, to interrupt, we just started our crowdfunding campaign today. So if you go to that website, you can see support the film in a link, or apes-together-strong-doc.com/donate. We're trying to crowdfund as much of this film as we possibly can. So any support we can get from you all is super appreciated. And a $100 level gets you a nice backers exclusive t-shirt. So check it out.
That is nice. I will put the link for that in the description below as well. Everybody go check it out. So yeah, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
You as well.
Cheers,
have a good one.
Okay. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, or sign up to our mailing list. Thanks a lot to our sponsor, ExpressVPN, the #1 most trusted VPN. Get lightning fast connectivity with servers in 160 locations across 94 countries. Keep your browsing privacy safe with ExpressVPN and get a 35% discount on 12 months of ExpressVPN when you follow the link in the description below. Don't forget my book is now out and available to order on Amazon and on bookshop.org. That's Brexit, the Establishment Civil War. And most importantly, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.